All right, the Utah Jazz lose to the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks finally get their second win of the season, this time against the Utah Jazz. Probably not that surprising, but there were a lot of moments in this game where it looked like Utah was in control of a lot of things. And then come third quarter, Utah put in a combination of John Collins and Jordan Clarkson. And Jordan Clarkson, to his credit, played well in the first half, but it was not enough for the Utah Jazz to overcome the struggling Milwaukee Bucks. Let's talk about the Bucks a tiny bit here. Let's adjust it here because people get angry if they can't see the stats. So let's see. It's really tough. This Bucks team, the depth is pretty rough. Brook Lopez is not quite what he has been in the past. Tonight, Brook Lopez scores 1 point, 5 rebounds, 2 assists in 32 minutes. You're just not used to that kind of production from him. You would expect more. He's just not quite the same. That's kind of the whole story of this entire Bucks team, is not quite the same, right? They're leaning on Tari and Prince in that starting lineup. They miss Chris Middleton in a big-time way. But even when he gets back, I mean, this team kind of goes 7 deep. You look tonight, I mean, you can just tell who matters by the minutes. They have something in AJ Green. He can really shoot the ball, but he's just a 3-point shooter. And I guess AJ Green, if he kind of replaces what Pat Connaughton does, that's pretty good. But Pat Connaughton, just 3 points. They really rely on Bobby Portis off the bench too. But Giannis and Dame both go for 30 plus, 31 for Giannis, 34 for Dame. Nice for Dame to have a nice game against the Jazz. He was hotter in the first half than he was in the second, but Giannis just overpowers you, and that's just the game for Giannis. 31 and 16. He just is so physically dominant. It's impressive. It just always is with him. But that's the thing, is Giannis, his game in some ways, he obviously is kind of that, he's that, what is the word that people use? Heliocentric part of this team, and then you have players around him that matches or complements his skill set. And he doesn't quite have enough of it on this team. You know, with that team that won the championship, they had Brook Lopez. Chris Middleton hit so many big-time buckets when they won the title. But, you know, Pat Connaughton was on that team that won, but these players, there's so much lacking. And during the game on the live stream, we were talking about it and looking up the numbers. They're like the 22 offense and 23 defense. It's bad. They're not good. So Utah helps them improve their record. I don't have a lot of faith that this Bucks team is going to be that good this year. They're just kind of running out of gas. And the Damian Lillard trade, he has nice offensive production, but he is not a defender, and other teams take advantage of that, and they're just going after him. It's crazy. All right, let's talk about the Jazz, shall we? It is another loss in the loss column. Utah now has sole position of number 1 in the standings. It is very clear that capture the flag is on. It's what the Jazz are doing, and it's great. If you are not happy about what's going on, I don't know what to tell you, because this is the first time in the history of this team that this team is doing the right thing and doing this, working to get a superstar. And I'm telling you right now, it's probably going to be this season and next season. This trade deadline for Utah is going to be really interesting. The question is, are there teams out there that want some of these players? I just don't see a team wanting Jordan Clarkson. I just don't see it happening. I think the biggest possibility is a Colin Sexton might get traded at some point. I don't know if there's a team willing to give whoever. The question is, what is Danny Ainge asking? I would not be surprised if it's like a first-round pick. But if he's asking for more than that, I don't know if there's a team out there that's going to want that. But this team is going to be really interesting to watch come trade deadline, because they have all this youth. It still is it is the worst that Taylor Hendricks goes out with that bad injury, because it would have been so fun to see him develop. But he'll be back next year. And the team next year, guys, by the way, going to be so much fun to watch. So much fun. So let's go through it. Cody Williams really is kind of a defense first player so far for this Jazz team, although he had a minus 22 in this game, although the Jazz starters in general did not hold up throughout the entire game. The Bucks went on an absolute tear in the late third quarter. Cody Williams did hit two of these threes. One of them was in garbage time, so I don't know how much you count that. But it is just nice to see him making threes. His first one was the first make of the game. Utah came into this one, hit their first threes. It was Cody Williams hit the first, Key hit a second, and then Colin Sexton pulled up on Giannis and knocked a three down right in front of him. That is the Colin Sexton experience. But I like what I'm seeing from Cody Williams. You just want to see a little more juice from him. We were talking on the live stream, me and Lake were talking, that I just think that his floor is most likely a rotation player. He looks very smart. He can do a lot of these things. It's very possible that that floor is much lower if it just falls apart. But he does look like he has high-level starter ceiling if everything kind of comes together, because he can shoot the ball, he drives, he passes the ball, and he defends. And he's long and tall. And he's not like an explosive athlete, but he's pretty good. He's pretty quick to the rim. He elevates pretty well. So that right there, you've got the makings of a nice player. The question for Cody Williams is aggressiveness. Can he stay aggressive? Will he stay aggressive? How does he do that? And it was fun to watch him tonight. I think he's just going to be one of those players that's going to benefit from a Utah Jazz trade deadline as well, because when Lauri Markkanen was out, obviously, Taylor Hendricks is out now, and it's part of why Cody Williams is getting more run. It's why he's in the starting lineup. Although I can't remember, was he in the starting lineup to begin the season? I can't remember. But anyways, he is definitely a beneficiary of that vacuum. So he is playing more. And when Jordan Clarkson doesn't play, although Jordan Clarkson came back and Cody Williams kept his minutes. So very nice to see that Cody Williams the Jazz are investing in him. And he is worth investing in. He has so much potential. You can see what he could become. The question is, can he be aggressive enough? Can he do it? That's every rookie, though. Lauri Markkanen has not had a very good season. He goes in this one 3 for 10, 8.7 rebounds, 4 assists. I mean, he's had some games where he's had a couple games, but he's really not started well, and I don't know if it's injury. He obviously comes back to this one after having back spasms. That was the biggest question mark, actually. Well, outside of what he could be. I mean, most people when he came to Utah obviously thought that he was going to be kind of just a spot-up three-point shooter, and has shown that he is much, much more than that. He is still pretty much completely an off-ball player, but he has been performing much better in that role. Kind of a Klay Thompson type role is what he's been for Utah. The problem, what Utah is doing this year, and I've been kind of watching it really close, and this is tinfoil hat stuff, but I think the Jazz are definitely looking at this as kind of a development season for Lauri Markkanen as well. He gets the ball at that free throw line, and they kind of force feed him there, and it hasn't gone well. That's why you've got these 3 for 10. He is getting the ball in isolation. They are giving him isolation opportunities. It has not gone particularly well. That's okay if the Jazz are trying to develop him, and it's also okay because Utah is fine losing games. This is what they want to do. It's capture the flag season, baby. But, so it's just kind of interesting. It's a little bit of me wondering, are they trying to develop Markkanen? They're not doing things to intentionally lose, but I do think they're doing things to intentionally try to expand Markkanen's game. Because guess what? This draft is loaded. Utah is going to get a very good player. Utah's on track to have the worst record in the league, and it's very likely that happens. I get so excited every single time. I mean, we're 8 games in already, and Utah is number 1, and it's not close. Philadelphia may tank, but they are going to win some games when Joel Embiid comes back after that whole saga kind of with his suspension and stuff kind of figures itself out. But Utah is going to get a nice player. At best, they get Cooper Flagg. At worst, someone like Igor Demin looks incredible, and he might be the 5th pick. In fact, Igor Demin might be number 4. And then there's Nolan Traore from France. He's going to be good. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for this Jazz team to pick a really nice player. And so if Lauri Markkanen can develop like he is with the Jazz right now, and then go into next season with kind of an expanded skill set, then that's even better. You know, it's interesting. When Lauri Markkanen was out, the Jazz were obviously not as good You're worse when you don't have your best player playing. But there was one of the interesting things about Filipowski that he did when he was on the floor, and it was impressive about him, was that the ball seemed to move really well. When Filipowski was on the floor, it's interesting because Taylor Hendricks and Lauri Markkanen in some ways are very similar offensively. Lauri Markkanen's obviously a much more, there's a lot more to his game, but they are both not really big playmakers, not real big ball movers. They're play finishers. Both of them are going to finish the ball at the rim on a lob. They're both going to take the three when they're open, things like that. And honestly, very similar players. But both of them being out, you had Filipowski on the floor and you have different guys on the floor that move the ball around. And it was interesting. The ball did move. So it's just going to be interesting if that ball movement can continue to happen with Markkanen, if they can play outside of the post with him, and maybe that's kind of what they're thinking. Maybe what they want Markkanen to be able to do is kind of get that ball in the post, punish a smaller defender if he has them, or if he can draw a double team, move it to an open shooter. And so it's going to be interesting to watch. I think that's something they're trying to do just from what I've been seeing. Walker Kessler continues to be arguably having the best season of any Jazz player. He is playing so well. He had 3 or 4 big-time stops on Giannis. And I know Giannis scored 31 and 16, but if you watched Kessler guard him, I would say Kessler guarded Giannis in the post as best as someone can. And Giannis was forced to stick to some kind of mid-range pull-ups and things because of Kessler. He got blocked by Kessler a couple times. Kessler comes out of this with 3 blocks. Really nice stuff. In fact, just for curious, let's see. I believe these were on Giannis. Yeah, look. All 3 on Giannis. Watch these. So Giannis driving hard at Kessler, blocks the shot. Really nice. Right here. Same thing. And this is in transition where Giannis is so incredibly just unstoppable typically. And then finally driving layup here. Watch Kessler do it again. Kessler is just playing. I mean, that's just great stuff. That is great, impressive stuff. He is doing honestly a wonderful job this year. He is playing with confidence and juice that he was not playing with last year. Absolutely not. And that was the big thing. And I talked to Lake about this tonight while we were watching. With rebounding, there's really 3 elements, and that's one thing we're noticing with Kessler. Look how many rebounds tonight. He has 8 rebounds tonight, but he's averaging 12 for the season. One of the things with the rebounding with Kessler and just with players in general, there's really 3 elements. There's the skill element. How well are you positioning, boxing out, getting to the basket at the right time, timing, all these things. The skill level. Do you have the physical tools? Are you strong? Are you tall? Are you long? Good hands. Are you athletic? Are you getting up there to get the ball at the peak? And then finally, the third one, and this is the one that he's really been missing just because of whatever happened with Steve Kerr and not being able to get minutes with Team USA 2 years ago, is the aggressiveness, the motor, whatever you want to call it. He didn't have it last year like he has it this year. And it's part of why he lost his job to John Collins, and he's earned it back. It is very much 100% Walker Kessler's position at this point. John Collins has played well this season, and it's not been enough to unseat Walker Kessler. So that's really nice to see. Goes 3 for 3 from the field this game. He just played really well. 8 rebounds, 3 blocks, and only 3 personal fouls with Giannis driving at him constantly. We saw the 3 blocks, all 3 of these on Giannis. Impressive stuff from Walker Kessler. Impressive stuff. Colin Sexton, he's my prediction for most likely player for traded from the Jazz. He had the best assist night tonight by far. 14 points, 7 assists. He was really solid tonight. I know the Jazz lost this game and lost big time, but it was mostly from a run in the third quarter where it obviously it went with these starters. I thought it was against the bench, but it was against the starters, or at least some of these starters. You'll notice it was. This is misleading because I felt like the Jazz played extremely well up through the third quarter until the Jazz decided that they would like to have Cooper Flagg next year and put in Jordan Clarkson. But anyways, Colin Sexton, he's just a very nice, efficient player. He really is kind of the perfect player to play off of a Giannis. I honestly, watching the Bucks, I thought, who would be nice for the Bucks is Colin Sexton playing off of Giannis. He hits those threes tonight, 2 for 4. He's a 39-40% 3-point shooter. He's also very good at getting to the basket, and playing off of someone like Giannis, who is likely drawing all the attention. He would be really nice with someone like that. Someone like LeBron James would be perfect with Colin Sexton if the Lakers wanted him. So anyways, nice night. Keontae George continues. This is his 3rd game in a row. I think Steve Jones said that on Blue Sky. Keontae George went 3 for 7 from 3 tonight. This is from Steve Jones, 3rd game in 3 nights. Three games in a row, I should say, from Key, hitting 3 threes. He's been really, really improving on his shooting. Now, his 2-point shots have not been great, and there was a perfect example of what we've kind of been talking about. He only takes 11 shots in this game, by the way, but this could have been 9 or 10, and, I don't know. But there was a good example where he gets the ball in isolation, and in Key's defense, but he did this a few times, he is ISO'd on Giannis and drove at Giannis to try and score, and that's just not the shot, It's just not really going to go well if you're challenging Giannis in isolation at the rim. He's, unless you're like Anthony Edwards and you can just blow by him. And Key's very athletic. He's not that level, though. And it didn't go well. Obviously, the 3-point shot is falling for him. He is figuring it out. And, we know that he can assist the ball. He's averaging career high in assists this year. Only 3 tonight, but that's okay. And only 2 turnovers. So he is at that 2 turnover level, which is really great. He's just got to figure some things out, and that's okay. I mean, they were kind of playing through Colin Sexton tonight a lot more than Key. And obviously playing through Markkanen, these assists kind of go down a little bit because when Markkanen's in, they are force feeding him in the post. But Key's doing well. He's hitting his threes. It's really just figuring out what to do within the offense to avoid the bad shots. The more he can learn to avoid the bad shots, obviously take the good ones. And he's a good shot maker, so he'll make them here and there. But this is just the development you're getting with these players, is learning when to take shots, when not to, how to, all these different things that it just takes time. This is only his 2nd season, so nice to see. John Collins, the numbers look pretty well. 11 points, 3 rebounds. He had a pretty rough night. Yeah, right there. 4 turnovers. He struggled tonight. He had a monster game the game before, and then tonight he struggles. But overall, I'd say this season has been a successful one for John Collins. Tonight was mostly not his night, though. Just is what it is. Johnny Juzang was interesting. He got these off the bench minutes, and he's absolutely earned them. And then he just comes in and shoots 3 for 4 from 3. His 3-point shooting is becoming really eye-popping at this point. He goes tonight. He is shooting from 3 this season 42%, so he's already improving on last season. Last season going 41, this season 42. Obviously early in the season, but we're getting a very good sample size here now. This is 8 games, 42%. Pretty exciting stuff. Johnny Juzang very much could be a big part of this Jazz team's future for a long time. And honestly, it may be kind of that George Niang role that George Niang carved out for Utah, where he's playing kind of that power forward off the bench. I don't know if Johnny Juzang is a good defender or ever will be, but he is certainly a great shooter, and he's got pretty good size. So if he can just find ways to contribute outside of just shooting the ball, but we are seeing that he is an absolute flamethrower from 3, and it is from everywhere on the 3-point line. Absolutely. And that right there makes you more important. Not all 3-point shooters are created equal. Some 3-point shooters can just kind of sit in the corner and that's all they can really do. Then if all you are is a catch and shoot 3-point shooter, kind of like Markkanen, who like we've talked about many times, he is not a good pull-up 3-point shooter. Does not do it. But what Markkanen is good at is catch and shoots, and he shoots it from everywhere, and it makes him super valuable. Well, guess what? Johnny Juzang does the same thing. He shoots it from everywhere, so that means you can do more in your offense with him. That's one thing that you got to remember with these 3-point shooters is if they're only a corner 3-point shooter, there's only so much you can do with that. If you're trying to run sets, if you're trying to run plays, and all you can do is shoot a corner 3, it's tough. That becomes all you are. But if you can shoot it from everywhere, then you can run specific plays. And that's one thing that Johnny Juzang does. Jordan Clarkson had probably his best game of the season. He was pretty great. He goes 4 for 9 from 3, 5 for 11 from the field. He was playing good enough. It was pissing me off because I want to get Cooper flagged, but 4 rebounds, 2 assists. He was really nice. He was very, very solid. Now, the second half, it went downhill. We also know that Jordan Clarkson is a bad defender, and the Bucks took advantage of it. But he played well in the first half and was just hitting everything. He was really good. And honestly, a pretty good sign that if Jordan Clarkson is torching you at this point, your defense has problems. Bucks defense is not very good. Let's see here. Drew Eubanks played 18 minutes. It was okay. He airballed a 3. I'm happy to see Drew Eubanks taking 3s. That is the Utah Jazz season, is when Drew Banks is taking 3s. It's pretty fun. Although he is like, 1 for 3 for the season? Drew Eubanks, 3-point sniper. I will say, and we say this every night, there's a few, some of these players, it's hard to say much more than the same thing. But Drew Eubanks brings toughness, and I really love it. And the Jazz just need to make sure that they surround these young players that they're drafting and developing with veteran leadership and toughness, and that's what Drew Eubanks brings. Same thing with Patty Mills. Patty Mills, this was actually one of the interesting stories of the game. Isaiah Collier is now finally healthy and ready to come back. And Patty Mills got the minutes over Collier, which was honestly pretty disappointing because I just want to watch Isaiah Collier. We don't really gain a lot by playing Patty Mills. And so maybe this was one of those things where Will Hardy it's locker room stuff where you're just trying to make sure that players understand they have to earn their spot. But it does feel like Utah is focusing on development. So this was just kind of strange tonight that Patty Mills played because in the preseason, Isaiah Collier, before he had his hamstring thing, he was getting the minutes. He goes to the bench and, has his time off for injury and comes back, and now he's off the bench. I don't get it. I would like to see Isaiah Collier get the minutes over Patty Mills. We are not developing Patty Mills for anything other than potentially being a coach next year for the team on the bench. He should be on the bench for the Jazz, right? Either as coach or as player, but we should not be having Patty Mills taking minutes from Isaiah Collier. That is not what the Jazz should do. Everything else was garbage minutes, so these minutes don't really matter. Guys, this was a successful night for the Jazz. They are now sole position of number 1. It is crazy that Philadelphia is at number 2, and I believe Philadelphia gives their pick to... let's see, how does this work? It's protected 1 through 6. Oh, there we go. So they keep their pick if they're bottom 6. The Philadelphia 76ers. The season it's a long season, so I don't see this happening. I think Philadelphia is going to play, and also I think Paul George is going to miss some time, or no, it's Maxey is going to miss some time with an injury, and it's like, I think maybe George as well. I think I saw it. I'm not sure. But anyways, Utah's top 10 protected. Philadelphia is top 6. Otherwise, it goes to OKC. How crazy is that? That's unbelievable. So we'll see what Philadelphia does. But if Philadelphia wants to make sure they keep their pick, they really want to be in this range. Because if you drop 3 or 4 spots on accident and you're like top 6 protected, let's say they get and stay in this 4, 5, 6 range, and they drop 2 spots and lose it anyway. Wow. I just don't see that. And honestly, these teams, Toronto is not that great. They're feisty, but they're not very good. Milwaukee's going to get better. Well, Milwaukee's going to win some games, but yeah, let's see. Washington and Portland and Detroit and obviously Utah are going to be very bad. It's just going to be hard for Philadelphia to keep up this losing with 3 really good players in Maxey, George, and Embiid. And Embiid is coming back. So anyways, that's enough about the Philadelphia 76ers. Let's see. Let's do our nightly lottery and see where the Jazz end up. They are number 1. So the nice thing about number 1, and we say this every night, is at worst, you have the number 5 pick. Everything else is frosting on that cake, man. All right, let's see. Who are we advertising tonight? Arby's deep fried turkey, Walgreens water, Best Buy, and more Walgreens water. All right, guys, if the lottery was today, who would the Jazz be getting? Let's see. Philadelphia wins the number 1 pick. Utah wins the lottery but gets the number 4 spot. Toronto and Chicago. That means Utah can get their pick of Nolan Traore. By the way, Trey Johnson looks amazing. 6'6". Look at that. It's 26.8 points per game to start the season. He looks like a star. Where is Igor Demon? This is going to rise, by the way. 20.9, 12.8 assists. Utah has their pick of all these guys. VJ Edgecombe drops. He scores just 4 points in his debut. That dunk was insane, though. Look at that. The rebounds there and the blocks. Oh, wow. Oh, no, that's Hugo. Oh, yeah, that's BJ. But Utah, if they get lucky and someone decides not to pick Dylan Harper at 4, they would get him. So anyways, Utah has a pretty bad lottery draw, and they still get the number 4 pick. That is the power of having the number 1 spot. All right, guys. Let's also give a shout out to the All-Stars. Thank you so much for the donation earlier tonight, Ryan. I appreciate it immensely. Let's give a shout out to our All-Stars tonight. You can join the channel, become a member to support the Hoops Nerd channel by hitting join. And if you become an All-Star, you get the nickname and you become a producer and the shout out at the end of the show. All right, let's give a shout out to Ryan Perry, the legend, Baby Elliott Madsen, see ya, Alexa later, Christian House Money to Haas, the Outlaw Jesse James Nelson, Jordan the Goat Best Roll, Austin our Grant Editor Extraordinaire, KG10 to TH5, and Patrick Akubo. We cut out there. Guys, make sure, did we get it? Patrick Akubo, the connoisseur, KG10 to TH5. Guys, if you're a Jazz fan or an NBA fan, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. I will talk to you next time.